Hi everybody, this is Lara at pureelliottwave.com with a new analysis of an equity for you. I'm going to have a quick look at Cleanspark Inc. It's a Bitcoin miner listed on NASDAQ. I'm going to have a look at this today. I'm going to look at the whole price history. This was requested by one of my members at Pure Elliott Wave, someone who's signed up for my once a week Bitcoin analysis. They want to have a look at this. So here's the full price history of Cleanspark starting back here, 2014. And current month, June 2022. This early movement here, the volume is just way too low. So I'm not going to consider, apart from these price points here and possibly this, I'm not really going to give too much weight to resistance at these levels because the volume is so low. It's not after we get this low down here and we start to move into this bounce and now this bear market here, that Cleanspark starts to show some reasonable volume. So I think analysis really should be focused mostly on these price movements. So at the monthly chart level, probably a little bit of resistance above about just below 45 probably, also possibly about 30. Volume declining as price falls. Overall it looks like price is falling of its own weight. There was a little bit of short-term bullish divergence between the last completed month of May here and on-balance volume, but this is just at a close on this month. It's not a swing low, and I've noticed that if you're looking at bullish or bearish divergence between price and RSI, and you're not looking at it between peaks in price, you're just looking at it at a close on a candlestick within an ongoing trend, it seems to more often disappear than not. So I would give this very, very little weight. RSI is neutral. On balance volume, we've just got that little bit of bullish divergence. The same concept works with both when you're looking at divergence on RSI and on balance volume. I'd rather use on balance volume with trend lines. It's below resistance, it's moving lower. So overall, that's actually bearish. ADX at the monthly chart level indicates no clear trend. It caught up with this previous upward trend here, which had some support from volume until the last couple of months, and then here overall volume declined to the end. ATR tends to mirror price, overall rising, as price overall rising, and then ATR falls as price falls, and again it's falling as price falls. So the bigger picture looks overall bearish. It looks like there's a series of lower lows, there's a series of lower highs on the monthly chart. Cleanspark's been in a downward trend. It's gone from a high of just under 45 and now it's a lot lower, $4.45 the last close. So this is pretty bearish. Let's have a look at the weekly chart. And we're going to look from this high, we're going to start to look at this downward movement here. So here's that high here. That upward movement here, let's just pop back this upward movement. This is where we start to see volume. So now on the weekly chart, we're looking at movement that has more volume. So I'm going to start to give any support and resistance noted here a little bit more weight. I would expect some pretty good resistance. Now price is closed below $6. We'll look for support from the monthly chart, 99 cents. It's really thin below. Now price is closed below that prior support at $6. There's not a lot of support below for this one that I can see. There is some bullish divergence here between on balance volume and this close here for price, but again, it's just a single candlestick. It's not an identified swing high or low. So I'm not going to give that too much weight, that bullish divergence. Volume is really light, and overall it seems to be upward sessions with an upward movement that has stronger volume than downward sessions within downward movement. So price is falling mostly of its own weight, which is a shorthand way of saying price could be falling due to a lack of activity from buyers, and it can do that just as easily as it can from increased activity from sellers. And it can continue to do that quite quickly for quite a long distance. RSI is neutral. It's nearing oversold, but it's not there yet. At the high, there was no bullish divergence, and RSI reached very deeply overbought back up here. ADX is indicating at the weekly chart level, yes, there is a downwards trend. It's got a ways to go before it reaches extreme though. Stochastics oversold, but you use RSI, not stochastics, when the market's trending. It's nearing oversold, but it's not there yet. And ATR declining as price falls. There's declining volatility with falling price, and ATR for this one tends to mirror price. Let's have a look at the daily chart. We're going to zoom in on now on this last piece of downward movement here. So here's that high, and here's the last low, and I've identified a flag pattern here, and a target from the flagpole I'm calculating at $2.15. So I would be looking for support for this one next, coming up at $2.15. I've calculated the flagpole from this high to this low and added that difference to the breakout point of the little flag pattern. That's a decent looking flag pattern, I think. Again, we're seeing green candlesticks with increased volume, and here, upward movement here, quite strong volume here. There's double bullish divergence, and again, this is just a single candlestick here, not an identified swing low, but between here and here we're seeing identified swing lows, and here corresponding points on RSI shows weakness in this downward movement. Now that bullish divergence could very well be resolved by the sideways consolidation of this flag pattern, and we back down into a downward trend. At the daily chart level it's not extreme, and remember at the weekly chart level also the downward trend is not extreme. At the daily chart level, RSI is back in neutral territory. There's room to go below before it reaches oversold, and there's quite a lot of room to go before this downward trend reaches extreme. Stochastics oversold, and again ATR mirroring price. So for this one, I expect after a breakout of this flag pattern to see price continue on lower to reach this target about $2.15, and below that really thin support until we get down to about 99 cents. So it's in a bear market. I expect the bear market's continuing. I'll just add that because there is a really obvious continuing downward trend, would be ever so slightly concerned about this target from this hammer candlestick pattern, but I would want to see some follow through to the upside on the next session before I really had good confidence in this hammer candlestick pattern. There's a little bit of support from volume, but overall volume's still been declining even to this upward session. So I do note there is a bullish candlestick pattern here, but I'm going to give a little bit more weight to the target from the bear flag pattern. That's it from me with a little update as requested by one of my members to my Bitcoin analysis at Pure Elliott Wave. Thank you so much for watching if you managed to get this far, and I appreciate all of your support so very much.